further ado, I would like to call on Mr. Gilauri to give us the background presentation. Mr. Gilauri, please.
Can I have slides, please? Yes, excellent. Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, first of all, let me thank the organizers of this event for great management and warm welcome. Also, I would like to thank my partners, McKinsey & Company, for allowing me to address this honorable venue and share with you experience of quite a drastic transformation that took place in my country a few years ago. Believe me, a few years ago in Georgia, you had much more worse situation that you have. Can we have a previous slide, please? Than you have in Nigeria now or in many other developing countries in this region. Georgia was quite a low-income country, $920 GDP per capita. Our tax revenue to GDP was only 7%, and plus, please take in consideration that we don't have any oil and no other natural resources, so it was quite a devastating situation. Our GDP growth was going down and down. According to business environment, according to the World Bank's Doing Business report, Georgia was 112th. By the way, back then Nigeria was 170s. It still stayed in 130s and 140s right now. And according to Transparency International, Georgia was one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Georgia was 124th, Nigeria was 136. I think that was the only year when you beat us. If we take in consideration late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, Georgia was, we were one of the worst corrupt countries in the world. I don't believe in cultural corruption. I don't believe in corruption of society. I don't believe in historical or endemic corruption, because if those were true, Georgians would be still corrupt, super corrupt. If there was a World Cup in corruption, Georgia would be a world champion every single time. Yeah, we may play Nigeria in 2000, whatever it was, 3, but we would still win, I guess. A few years later, only a few years later, can we have next slide, please? We have this transformation, plus please take in consideration no oil whatsoever. GDP growth rate in nominal terms, 4.6 times in 8 or 9 years' time. I mean, there is no other country in the recent years without oil who have achieved this type of transformation, this type of growth. And it's all done due to smart regulation, due to debottlenecking private sector, due to just taking out bureaucracy and taking out corruption. Public sector, tax revenues increased to become 23.5%. As you remember, it was 7% only a few years ago. In nominal terms, it's 12 times increase. And by the way, that's on the back of decreasing tax rates and decreasing number of taxes from 21 down to 6. It's just eradicating corruption and increasing administration of the tax department of the public sector. According to Doing Business, we did the serious jump from 112th place, we went to number 9. Thank you. Actually, a year later, we were number 8, but it's still good. Georgia was the only developing country in the top 10. And the only country in the history of this report which made such a significant jump from below 100 to in the top 10. By the way, Nigeria is still below 100. It stayed around 130s. And according to Transparency International, Georgia jumped amongst top 50 countries of being least corrupt country. Top 50, if it's not the best, not top 10, but it's still good. But Transparency International does a couple of surveys every year. One of the surveys is asking population of 185 countries one and the same question. Have you or member of your family paid a bribe in past 12 months? That's the question. In Georgia, only 4% said yes to that question in 2010. Imagine that. EU average was 5%. United States was 5%. The only countries that did better than Georgia were Scandinavian countries, were Canada, South Korea, Singapore. That's pretty much it. Belgium, Netherlands. Like, we were amongst top 15 countries according to Transparency International. So that type of transformation just took place very, very recently, and it's not some kind of case study which is based on some different incomes and outcomes. It's just a real-time story. It's a real transformation that took place in Georgia just very recently. And by the way, this transformation right now is used by many countries in the developing world, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, in post-Soviet Union countries, to kickstart the economies, to get a new economic growth for their countries. So how it's done? I'm guessing that this is the question everybody is asking. It's done by tough choices. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm standing here. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It's one of the tough transformations that can take place, and it stands on the 3 pillars. It's a business climate, it's a citizen services, and it's public finances. That's how I want to show it. I mean, there are many different ways of giving the story of transformation. How I mostly give the story is a 3 pillars that it stands. It's a quantum leap in business climate, it's a quantum leap in citizen services, it's a quantum leap in public finance. And in every single case, we made lots of experiments. We adopted lots of innovations. By the way, we made so many mistakes you cannot imagine. Just don't make those mistakes again. Those mistakes have already been done. I'll be talking about success stories, but behind every success story, there are 5 or 6 mistakes before we actually ended up with the right combination, with the right formula. So to start with the business climate, I'll tell you a couple of things. We realized that we cannot afford all the rules and regulations. We cannot afford it financially, we cannot afford it from human capacity. I mean, we were continuation of post-Soviet Union, we were a continuation of this very corrupt society, so, I mean, if bureaucrats were giving opportunity, most likely they would use it. So we decided to look at everything from a private sector point of view. Whatever is not very, very important for health or for security, we can get rid of. So we actually got rid of agencies, and we actually got rid of lots of government licenses and permits. By the way, we decreased the number of permits and licenses by 85%. So getting rid of lots of rules and regulations is very important. And by the way, Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, you were talking about zero-based budget. Exactly, we adopted zero-based budget, but plus we asked agencies, so what is your objectives? When we will give you this money, what will you deliver? What good will you create for public? And guess what? Almost 50% of agencies didn't have any clue in case of Georgia. They just were there created by somebody to make more money. I mean, I'm guessing the previous government was thinking that's how you create employment. Previous government was thinking that's how you fight unemployment, you create jobs in bureaucracy. Not realizing that you are killing thousands more jobs in private sector. And actually that was a great transformation, taking out the bureaucracy and allowing private sector to grow and to flourish. There are many interesting and innovative approaches that we adopted. I call them smart regulations. Two of them which I would like to emphasize is silence is consent and one government principle. By the way, these are terminologies which you may not heard, but these are the principles which worked very well in Georgia. One of the most difficult things when we are doing these reforms were actually we had an opposition, not from population, not from political opposition, but from our own government. Our own bureaucrats, and in some cases even our own ministers, and be careful, Mr. Vice President. You are just appointing ministers now, so we are the biggest opposition of these reforms because they thought they would lose power, they thought they would lose, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever they have there in their mind. So every time I would go to my own bureaucrats when I started as a Minister of Energy in the beginning, and to start to get rid of rules and regulations, they would tell me, no, it's impossible. It's how our fathers used to do it. And this is the best answer that they come up with. So then what we did, we said that, okay, that's fine. Let's have two overarching principles. One is silence is consent, which means that when a citizen is asking for a permit or for a license, an agency has 2 weeks for a permit and 1 month for a license to respond. If there is no response, it's a yes. That's it. Well, of course, our bureaucrats came up with innovative methods. On the 29th days, they started asking questions, getting answers, and so on and so on. But we said that, okay, you can ask questions once, that's it. And if there is no more objections, the answer is yes. So that's one principle. The second principle was one government principle, which is, I think, even more important. We said that no government agency can request to a citizen or a businessman to give them another paper from different government agency. If you want to get that paper, go get yourself. Now, why? The government agencies love to come up with new papers that you have to provide to them because they sit down as bosses, don't do anything that they are requesting you to do here, go there, here, and there. The moment we told them that, no, it's you who have to go there and here to get those papers, they started coming back to us saying that we need to get rid of some rules and regulations. Oh, no! Really? I was telling you that 2 months ago.